You are in a hot sector now, and where do you see the next opportunity?
Water, I think, is a next. I am playing through a company called.
Where do you see next in this?
See a lot of things happening in defense as well. So we have a lot of defense stocks in our portfolio. You have
Railway done, defense done, water done.
Yeah.
Where next?
Government housing, game changer for the sector. So we are playing through some of these companies.
You are not speaking about power till now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have to. India has very bad history with electricity per se. Electricity will offer a massive opportunity. We have equipment supplying companies, electricity generators, like.
Actually, after a long time, I thoroughly enjoyed each moment of the conversation. నేను కాన్ఫిడెంట్గా చెప్తున్నాను, మన ఛానల్లో చూసిన ఎక్స్పర్ట్ సిరీస్ ఇంటర్వ్యూస్లోని వన్ ఆఫ్ ద బెస్ట్ ఇంటర్వ్యూ అయితే ఈరోజు మీరు చూడబోతున్నారు. ఎందుకంటే చాలా రేర్గా ఫండ్ మేనేజర్స్ వాళ్ళు హోల్డ్ చేసిన కంపెనీస్ గురించి, వాటిలో ఉన్న ఆపర్చునిటీస్ గురించి ఓపెన్గా డిస్కస్ చేస్తారు. ఎందుకంటే బేసికల్ వాళ్ళు ఇలా డిస్కస్ చేసిన తర్వాత రేపు ఏదైనా నెగిటివ్ జరిగిందనుకోండి, వాళ్ళని బ్లేమ్ చేస్తారు కదా అని చెప్పి భయపడి ఆగిపోతారు. వెరస్ ఈరోజు అలాంటి కాదు ఇంటర్వ్యూ. యాక్చువల్లీ ఈరోజు ఇంటర్వ్యూలోని మీకు చాలా ఇన్ఫో అయితే దొరుకుతున్నది. మనం మోడీ 2.0 ఎరాలోని లాస్ట్ ఫ్యూ ఇయర్స్ ఏదైతే ఉన్నదో అక్కడ గవర్నమెంట్ ఒక ఫోకస్ పవర్, ఇన్ఫ్రా, డిఫెన్స్ ఇలాంటి థీమ్స్లో అయితే ఉన్నది కదా. గవర్నమెంట్ ఫోకస్ అండ్ స్పెండింగ్ అక్కడ ఉండడంతో ఆ కంపెనీస్ అన్ని కూడా ఇన్వెస్టర్లకు చాలా మంచి రిటర్న్ డెలివర్ చేసి ఏదో డైరెక్ట్ స్టాక్ ఇన్వెస్టర్స్ అవ్వచ్చు ఆర్ ఇన్ఫ్రా ఫండ్ ఇన్వెస్టర్స్ అవ్వచ్చు, దే మేడ్ లాట్ ఆఫ్ మనీ. నౌ మోడీ 3.0లో కూడా సిమిలర్ థింగ్ జరగనున్నది. ఒకవేళ ఇలా జరగనున్నట్టయితే ఎలాంటి కంపెనీస్లో ఆపర్చునిటీ ఉన్నది అండ్ ఏ కంపెనీస్లో ఆపర్చునిటీ ఉన్నది అని చెప్పి విశాల్ గారితో, బంధన్ ఇన్ఫ్రా ఫండ్ ఒక ఫండ్ మేనేజర్ ఆయనతో చాలా డీటెయిల్ డిస్కషన్ అయితే జరిగింది. అండ్ చాలా రేర్ ఫండ్ మేనేజర్స్ గైస్, నేను చెప్తున్నాను. మీరు ఇంటర్వ్యూ చూస్తున్నప్పుడు ఒక 10-15 మినిట్స్ చూసారనుకో, చూస్తే మీకు క్లియర్లీ అర్థమైపోతుంది. ఇంత ఓపెన్గా, ఇంత ఫ్రాంక్గా ఎవరు కూడా తను ఏదైతే హోల్డింగ్ రిలేటెడ్ వ్యూని, థాట్ ప్రాసెస్ని ఇంత కాన్ఫిడెంట్గా షేర్ చేయరు. యాక్చువల్లీ ఇంటర్వ్యూ అవుతున్నప్పుడు నేనైతే ఫ్యాన్ అయిపోయాను. టీం మొత్తం కూడా రికార్డ్ చేస్తున్నప్పుడు దే బికమ్ ఫ్యాన్ ఆఫ్ హిమ్. ఐఎమ్ షూర్ మీకు కూడా చాలా బాగా నచ్చేస్తారన్నమాట. అండ్ అలాగే ఆయన ఇంటర్వ్యూ ఏదైతే ఉన్నదో చాలా బాగా రావడంతో, నార్మల్లీ ఇలాంటి ఎక్స్పర్ట్ సిరీస్ ఇంటర్వ్యూలో తెలుగు సమ్మరీ లాస్ట్లో షేర్ చేస్తుంటాను కదా, ఈసారి లాస్ట్లో షేర్ చేయకుండా ఏంటంటే ఈచ్ క్వశ్చన్ తర్వాత ఏంటంటే ఈచ్ కేటగిరీ సెక్టర్ గురించి, కంపెనీస్ గురించి ఆయన మాట్లాడతారన్నమాట. ఆయన హోల్డ్ చేసిన కంపెనీస్ గురించి, వాటి గురించి మాట్లాడిన తర్వాత నేను తెలుగు సమ్మరీ షేర్ చేస్తాను. సో దట్ మీకు కొంచెం వరకు అక్కడ ఇంకొంచెం బెటర్ వాల్యూ ఎడిషన్ చేస్తానైతే నాకు అనిపించింది. సో మీకు తెలుగు వర్షన్ గురించి వెయిట్ చేసే వాళ్ళకి మీకు అక్కడైతే తెలుగు వర్షన్ కూడా దొరికేస్తుంది. అండ్ అలాగే వీడియో చూసినప్పుడు గైస్ మేము అడిగేది ఒకటే, ఈ ఛానల్లోని ఇలాంటి ఇంటర్వ్యూస్ తీసుకురావడానికి టీం చాలా ఎఫర్ట్ పెట్టాలి. ఆ ఎఫర్ట్స్ మీకు హెల్ప్ఫుల్ అవుతున్నాయి అనిపించినట్టయితే మేము లైక్ తప్పించి ఇంకేం అడగం. సో చాలామంది చూస్తారు కానీ లైక్ చేయడం కూడా ఇబ్బంది పడుతుంటారు. మీరు జస్ట్ లైక్ చేస్తే చాలు. ఏంటంటే అది మమ్మల్ని ఇంకా ఎంకరేజ్ చేసినట్టు అవుతుంది. ఇలాంటి సెషన్స్ ఇంకా మేము చేయగలుగుతాం అన్నమాట. సో వీడియో చూసిన వాళ్ళు ప్రతి ఒక్కరు తప్పకుండా వీడియోని లైక్ చేయడం అయితే మర్చిపోకండి. అండ్ అలాగే ఈ వీడియోలో డిస్కస్ చేసిన కామెంట్స్ గురించి, థీమ్స్ గురించి, సెక్టర్స్ గురించి ఏదైతే ఉన్నదో దీంట్లో మీకు నచ్చిన థీమ్ ఏంటి, మీకు నచ్చిన కంపెనీస్ ఏంటో కూడా కింద కామెంట్ సెక్షన్లో షేర్ చేయండి. సో దట్ ఎంతోమందికి ఏ థీమ్స్ నచ్చాయి అండ్ అలాగే ఏ కంపెనీస్ నచ్చాయి అన్నది కూడా ఒక క్లారిటీ అయితే వస్తుంది. అండ్ మీ ఫ్రెండ్స్ అండ్ ఫ్యామిలీ మెంబర్స్కి ఈ వీడియో హెల్ప్ఫుల్ అవుతుందంటే వాళ్ళకి తప్పకుండా షేర్ చేయండి. అండ్ లాస్ట్ చివరిది నేను అడిగేది, ఇంత ఓపెన్గా ఆయన మనకి ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ అయితే షేర్ చేశారు కదా, మనకు కాన్ఫిడెన్స్ బిల్డ్ చేశారు కదా ఈ థీమ్ రిలేటెడ్గా. జస్ట్ థ్యాంక్ యూ గైస్. ఓకే, కామెంట్ సెక్షన్లోని థ్యాంక్ యూ విశాల్ గారు అని చెప్పి కామెంట్ చేయండి. సో ఆయన కూడా అంతకన్నా మించి ఏమీ ఎక్స్పెక్ట్ చేయరు. సో థ్యాంక్ యూ అండ్ లెట్ మీ వెల్కమ్ విశాల్ గారు నౌ. హాయ్ విశాల్, ఫస్ట్ ఆఫ్ ఆల్ థ్యాంక్స్ అలాట్ ఫర్ గివింగ్ us time. You are in a hot sector now. I think most of the interest of investors is there in this sector, but problem is, yes, last year this sector delivered fantastic return, no doubt, but people who are old investors, they'll always carry 2008 history in baggage in their behind. So the biggest question is, whatever return we are seeing, is it sustainable? Okay, can we see infra as a sector going to deliver next 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, whatever the time period, good return to the investor? So that's my first question. After that I have a lot of questions to ask.
Sure. So if you see the way Indian economy is, the foundation of the India story is Indian infrastructure, right? 60% of the GDP is consumption already. Okay, what we are lacking as a country is efficient infrastructure, right? To transport goods, to transport people, to manufacture goods. This is what India is lacking, and this is where we need to focus on. This is where, as a country, we need to develop, right? And for that development, infra is essential. So, and the government is rightly focused. I mean, whoever has been in power in the center has focused on infrastructure. The first infrastructure rally in India, practically, that most of the people remember, and that created magnificent returns and then magnificent busts.
Yes.
Right? Happened between 04 to 08 or 03 to 08.
04 to 08, and after that the burst.
And the bust, right? So every government realizes that there is enough to be done on infrastructure.
Yes.
And that is happening on the ground. What the companies and the government both have learned a lot of lessons over the last 20 years. Okay. And everybody has improved. Everybody has learned. So that the benefit of the big cycle between 03 to 08 and a smaller cycle between, say, 15 to 17, right? And post that, the boom cycles and in between the bust cycles have given substantial learnings to both the government and the companies as to how to capitalize on the opportunity in the overall infra space. And infra, I mean, the way one should look at infra, the composition of infra, right? Infrastructure is like an umbrella. Within that thing, we have road, rail, electricity, ports, airports, water, sanitation, housing, defense, manufacturing. We have electricity, energy. We have a host of sectors that will benefit out of this.
Yes.
So, and the government is rightly focused, this government and the previous one, on developing all these sectors, right? Because we are lacking versus our peers in infrastructure, which is having an impact on the ease of doing business, on the competitiveness of Indian industry, the competitiveness to some extent of the Indian service sector as well, right? That is something that it is high time that we develop this infra, high time that we focus on infra. And to your other question in terms of what will be the kind of returns, if the government continues to have enough focus on this space, and if the companies also behave a bit rationally, the kind of returns that this space could make could be substantial, because the requirement of capital expenditure in this space is enormous. And if that is the case, and if a big portion of that actually pans out, then you will make enough returns, right? So that is a culmination of good macro outlook for the sector, good micro outlook in terms of companies doing exceptionally well, earnings resilience being there, which can lead to better valuation multiples, and consequently better returns for the investors.
Okay.
Right?
So many small caps can become large caps and mid caps.
They will. Many companies, many large cap, many mid caps that we currently have in the space were subcontractors. Then they become subcontractors. Now they are main contractors, and now they have employed many subcontractors.
Yeah, in defense, I can clearly see that there are companies which used to supply only the basic commodity products. They are getting into specialized. When we are reading the numbers, management commentaries and all, the traction is clearly visible. And as you said, infra is a umbrella. It has many things. Infra is not just one particular sector.
Absolutely.
Okay. So when these many sectors are there, okay, I want you to give us the clarity in which all themes you are seeing massive opportunity. Let's speak individually, and what kind of opportunity you are seeing, and how are you playing with the theme? How are you planning to generate return by what kind of companies you are playing there?
Exactly. This is an important point to be discussed. So let us take railways. 2014-15, somewhere there, we were spending about 40,000 crores on railways, 45,000 crores. We are now, this year, the budgetary allocation is 2,65,000 crores. We've grown by almost 6.5 to 7x in this 10-year time period, right? And all of this money has gone into creation of new tracks, expansion of existing tracks, adding more locomotives, diesel and electric, adding more rolling stock for passengers, and new trains, new formats, and adding new wagons for freight. Right? All of this has ensured substantial activity in the downstream, in the whole value chain that is focused on railways, right? And all of these companies who were struggling with orders, did not have enough orders to fill the factories, are today at a stage where the government is waiting that once the existing backlog clears, then they will award new orders, right? So you've come for a stage, I mean, from the one end of the spectrum of not having orders to having excess orders, right? Where the government is waiting for you to complete some execution.
Wagon companies, so they are filled with orders.
Exactly. That is flowing down through the value chain. So something similar for the passenger rolling stock as well, right? You have metros, metro coaches, right? At a point in time, we used to only import. Then we started manufacturing. Today, we've reached a stage where we are exporting. Right. So you've completed the whole journey, completed the whole circle, right? From not being able to do anything to exporting from the country. Now, if you're exporting wagons, exporting metro coaches from India, the manufacturing is happening in India. So the entire value chain is benefiting because all the components are coming from India. Most of the components are coming from India. And we have capitalized on this opportunity by having a lot of companies in the portfolio way before this actually panned out on the street in the stock markets. Because based on our interaction with the various government departments and the companies, we were aware that something of the sort, the focus of the government is significant in railways, and that benefit will eventually accrue to the Indian domestic companies. Now you have a lot of companies which are focused on the entire value chain in terms of wagon manufacturing, railway coach, passenger rolling stock manufacturing, locomotives, then EPC companies, and some companies that are focused on electrification of the railways, right? Indian Railways has moved from 60-70% electrification to today 97% electrification. It's a meaningful thing that has happened. So some of the companies that are focused on heavy electricals have also benefited, and we are capitalizing on that opportunity.
Yeah, I can see Texmaco, Hitachi Energy kind of companies in your portfolio. But my concern here in railways, we'll go to the next segment.
Yes.
Already there is a good enough rally we saw. Okay, and there are only limited companies in the listed space where we can play. Are you able to find more opportunities in this space in listed?
We have grown the Capex from say 40,000 crores to 2,65,000 crores this year. If we grow it by about say 13% in the next 5-6 years, we will double the opportunity. Okay, there will be some new entrants who will come and capitalize, but the existing companies will see a doubling of opportunity in the next 5-6 years.
Doubling of opportunity, okay, next 5-6
So if that itself will be very meaningful.
Okay.
Right. So most of the people, I mean, generally the idea is that if the stock has run up, and to the extent that some of these stocks have run up, which have become multi-baggers, then the inclination is to actually sell them and move to other places. But if the government remains committed, and the requirement of railways is significant in India, right? We are just about to complete 2 dedicated freight corridors. We are yet to build many more. The finance minister in the budget in February of 2024 announced 3 more corridors. So we are going to build many more railway tracks, right? And if these railway tracks actually come about, the requirement for wagons as well as passenger rolling stock will be several fold than where we are currently today. So in that essence, the existing companies themselves will get many more orders that they can actually, I mean, they can't execute at this capacity. They will have to expand capacity.
They have to expand capacity.
And there will be few more companies who will come out, but the bulk of the benefit will accrue to the existing companies.
Okay, that's really good. So you see PSUs going to get benefited more or the private ones?
See, both will have different drivers, right? PSU railway companies the listed ones will mainly benefit from the EPC portion of the ordering that will come. The private companies will benefit from both the EPC business as well as the manufacturing business that is there, right? So the private companies are focused on component supplies and the full system supply as well. So they'll benefit from both these things, and the government PSU companies will benefit mainly from the EPC orders that will come about. The government, we currently operate somewhere around 70,000 kilometers of railway network, and the plans by the government are to augment this network in a meaningful manner. If that actually happens, because greenfield route addition or brownfield route expansion has happened in a limited way over the last 10 years, that needs to be augmented. So if that actually happens, you could see meaningful EPC orders also coming in. And new tracks will entail requirement of heavy electricals, entail requirement of more rolling stock, wagon, freight rolling stock as well as passenger rolling stock. So, and then there is this opportunity of replacement, right? We also need to replace. Lot of wagons, freight wagons are very old.
Yes.
But because we were not adding enough, we did not retire the existing stock at a timely manner. We need to also replace a lot of old freight wagons. We need to convert a lot of passenger trains, to the new format. The new technology based rolling stock will be much more efficient in terms of operating it, the electricity consumption will be lower. Okay, which is very important. The vibrations will be lower, so that will enhance the quality of travel for the passengers.
Yes.
So one is on the new capacity addition that we need to do. We need to add more, and then there is the replacement demand as well, which also needs to come about. And in certain categories, we are also talking about exports. In metro coaches, like Alstom is exporting from India. Rights is exporting certain locomotives and certain rolling stock from India to certain friendly countries. All this can enhance. So that is an additional opportunity that will be available for the companies that are focused on this business.
Fantastic. Okay, I can clearly understand the railway is your first interest in entire infra. Okay, where do you see next interest?
See a lot of things happening in defense as well, right? Defense is a particular thing where India should have done way better, way more, way back. But we have lagged as a country in focusing on defense for various reasons. But now, if you look at what is happening, in 2014, we were spending about 80,000 crores on defense, in capital expenditure of defense. This is different from the revenue expenditure defense that we do, right?
Yes.
So then Capex of 80,000 crores, the domestic component was only 24,000 crores, right? Balance was imported, right? This year we will do 1,72,000 crores. That is the budgeted estimate. Now of this 1,72,000 crores, the domestic portion would be about 1 lakh crores. So over the last 10 years, the opportunity for the domestic companies has increased by 4x, that is 400%, from 24,000 crores to 100,000 crores, right? So the imports have not increased to that extent. The government has put several, has taken several measures, import bans. So what is happening is, the moment we were pushed to the wall, that no more imports, okay, suddenly there was availability in India. So which implies that a lot of these things were available in India, but were not being adopted, right, for various reasons. So these are the things that are benefiting the Indian defense sector, number one. The other way to look at defense is, we are trailing some of our peers, right? We need to boost defense for our northern borders as well as the sea-based borders. So now we have 18 submarines operating in India with the Indian Navy. And China has got 78 submarines. US has got 68 submarines. Now these are just submarines. Similarly, we can list out the destroyers or the frigates that they have, or that we have. Okay, so it's a very long journey that we have to complete. We have just 2 aircraft carriers and only 1 is fully operational as of now. So we need many more. We need many more destroyers, frigates and other vessels. We need other coastal patrolling vessels. We've been lacking there as well. And similarly for aircrafts, right? I mean, we have fighter aircrafts that we have, okay. So every aircraft has a particular use and a particular range, right? When we talk about a higher range in terms of that these aircrafts need to have, we need to get those aircrafts. We still lack the capability of manufacturing those sort of aircrafts. But the relatively easy to manufacture aircrafts, we were not doing that as well. So that has changed for good. We will now definitely be able to manufacture those aircrafts. And manufacturing in essence is a step-by-step process. Whatever we manufacture, you can't just jump 10 steps and go to high-tech manufacturing. You have to go through the journey, be it for defense or be it for other manufacturing. And now that our focus on defense and manufacturing in India, indigenization, has increased so substantially, we will gradually get to high-tech manufacturing as well. We will eventually be able to develop some technologies ourselves. In space, we were denied technology. We were able to develop our own technology. In missiles, we were denied a lot of technology. We have been able to develop a lot of technology.
In fact, we are exporting to many countries.
Exactly. And same is the case for atomic energy, like nuclear. So nuclear, we were denied a lot of technologies, we were able to develop. So what has happened is, whenever we are sort of pushed to the wall or we are cornered, we are able to develop a lot of things. We have enough engineering talent, enough science talent, and it's actually fabulous. So we will do all this. So the opportunity that is there for the capital expenditure in defense is, I would like to call it a multi-decade opportunity.
Multi-decade,
So we will continue to invest, continue to expand, right? US had reduced manufacturing on the defense side, and they said that we'll import a lot of stuff and everything. There are some permanent magnets required and a lot of basic stuff that is required. And today they have said openly that maybe that was not the best of the decision. right? We should have kept some manufacturing in-house so that now when we need to build up on that, it would have been easier. But not having it now to start again is a task. So that is something that we have an advantage now, that even though we were late to the party, but at least now from here on we should have enough manufacturing. Like basic guns and all, we used to import. Today at least those are available in India. The government is ready to believe and government is ready to order from the private side as well. Similarly for missiles, and as you rightly mentioned, like we are now at a stage where we can export certain rockets at least, and we will do missiles as well.
I met actually one of the Hyderabad-based promoter, defense company promoter. What he said is, 5 years back, whenever he used to visit any country for appointment of export orders and all,
Right.
they used to struggle.
Yeah.
Okay, and now he's saying, before I go there, the officials who are sitting in that country,
Right.
they themselves are taking approvals from the government there,
Right.
and they're actually facilitating them to give their presentations and also it's making our life easy because of that the orders are also
Right.
flowing in.
Yeah, absolutely,
So-
absolutely. For a private enterprise to go to crack a government-to-government deal is impossible by themselves without having the government support. With the
Yes.
government support, it's very easy. And this is how these deals are done. I mean, globally also, when France was the second largest arms exporter, or US and all now. So, I mean, it's all government-to-government deal. And then the private guys come in who will actually supply. So, that is an exceptional effort by the government of India to ensure that we are able to do that.
How are you playing with this theme in your portfolio? Which
We
kind of
have-
companies are carrying?
So we have a lot of different stocks in our portfolio. You have Bharat Electronics, we have Bharat Dynamics, we have Midhani, that is the Mishra Dhatu
Yeah,
Nigam,
Hyderabad-based one.
Hyderabad-based company. We have a few private companies also. We have which are a part of our defense portfolio, and these companies will benefit from the overall Capex that will happen, right?
Okay.
So, yeah.
And where do you see the next opportunity? Now we finished railways, defense,
Yeah.
and then what next?
So next is water.
నెక్స్ట్ మనం వాటర్, పవర్ అండ్ వేరియస్ అదర్ సెక్టర్స్లో ఆయన హోల్డ్ చేసిన కంపెనీస్ అండ్ వాటిలో చూసిన ఆపర్చునిటీ గురించి డిస్కస్ చేసుకునే ముందు మీకు తెలుగు సమ్మరీ ఇస్తా అన్నాను కదా ఈచ్ టాపిక్ అయిపోయిన తర్వాత. ఫస్ట్ అసలు ఇన్ఫ్రా రిలేటెడ్గా మాట్లాడుకున్నప్పుడు ఏదైతే ర్యాలీ మనం చూసాం లాస్ట్ 1 yearకి ఇది కంటిన్యూ అవుతుంది లేదా సస్టైనబిలిటీ పార్ట్ గురించి అడిగింది. ఎందుకంటే దట్ ఈస్ మోర్ ఇంపార్టెంట్ థింగ్ అన్నమాట. ఒకసారి 2 సంవత్సరాలు మధ్యలో చాలాసార్లు ఇన్ఫ్రాలో ర్యాలీలు అయితే జరిగాయి, కాకపోతే సస్టైన్ అవ్వలేదు. బట్ 2003 to 2008 ర్యాలీ ఏదైతే ఉందో దట్స్ అ మ్యాసివ్ ర్యాలీ. ఆ టైంలో మార్కెట్లో ఉన్న వాళ్ళకి తెలుసు ఇన్ఫ్రా కంపెనీస్లో 50x 100x రిటర్న్స్ అన్నమాట. సో అంత డెలివర్ చేసి దాని తర్వాత అలాగే పడిపోవడం కూడా మనం చూసాం. అలాంటి సినారో మనకి ఏమైనా చూసే ఆస్కారం ఉన్నదా అని అడిగినప్పుడు ఆయన ఏమన్నారంటే 2003 to 2008 మధ్యలో ఏదైతే జరిగిందో దాని తర్వాత ఏదైతే ఫాల్ అయిందో ఆ ఫాల్లోని కంపెనీస్ అవ్వచ్చు, గవర్నమెంట్ అవ్వచ్చు, ఇన్ఫ్రా రిలేటెడ్గా ఎలా హ్యాండిల్ చేయాలని అయితే లాస్ట్ 2 decadesలో నేర్చుకుని సో అప్పుడు చేసిన మిస్టేక్స్ అయితే కంపెనీస్ కానీ లేదా గవర్నమెంట్స్ కానీ ఇప్పుడు రిపీట్ చేయట్లేదు. అండ్ గవర్నమెంట్ యొక్క ఫోకస్ అండ్ గవర్నమెంట్ ఇన్ఫ్రా రిలేటెడ్ స్పెండింగ్ అయితే చేయాలి, అందులో అసలు డౌటే లేదు ఎనీ గవర్నమెంట్. సో ఆ స్పెండింగ్ ఏదైతే చేయాల్సి ఉన్నదో అది ప్రాపర్గా స్పెండింగ్ జరిగినట్టయితే రిటర్న్స్ అనేవి సబ్స్టాన్షియల్గా ఉండబోతున్నాయి ఇన్ఫ్రా థీమ్లోని. ఇన్ఫ్రా అనగానే మనకి చాలా వేరియస్ థీమ్స్ వస్తాయి. వాటర్ అవ్వచ్చు, రోడ్ అవ్వచ్చు, ఎలక్ట్రిసిటీ, పోర్ట్స్, ఎయిర్పోర్ట్స్, శానిటైజేషన్, హౌసింగ్, ఇలాంటి వేరియస్ థీమ్స్ అన్ని కూడా ఇన్ఫ్రా అంబ్రెల్లాకి అయితే వచ్చేస్తాయి. సో ఇన్ఫ్రాస్ట్రక్చర్ అనగానే చాలామంది ఓన్లీ రోడ్స్ ఇవన్నీ అనుకుంటారు, బట్ ఇట్స్ ఏ వాస్ట్ థీమ్ కాబట్టి ఇక్కడ చాలా చోట్ల ఆపర్చునిటీ ఉన్నదని అయితే మాట్లాడారు. నెక్స్ట్ ఆయన మీరు ఇవన్నీ థీమ్స్ గురించి మాట్లాడుతున్నారు కదా, అందులో మీ ఫేవరెట్ ఏది అని అడిగినప్పుడు రైల్వే గురించి మాట్లాడితే ఆయన ఏమన్నారంటే గవర్నమెంట్ 2014-15లోని రైల్వే రిలేటెడ్గా 40,000 crores అయితే స్పెండ్ చేసేది. వేరే లాస్ట్ ఇయర్ బడ్జెట్లోని 2,66,000 అయితే బడ్జెటరీ ఎలోకేషన్ ఇచ్చారు. సో లాస్ట్ 10 సంవత్సరాలను గవర్నమెంట్ యొక్క స్పెండింగే 6.5x నుంచి 7xకి అయితే పెరిగింది. ఒక టైంలోని ఈ రైల్వేలో ఏదైతే ఆపరేట్ చేసే కంపెనీలు ఉంటే వాళ్ళు ఆర్డర్ ల్యాక్ స్ట్రగుల్ అయిపోయేవారు. వేరే ఇప్పుడు ఎలాంటి పరిస్థితి వచ్చిందంటే గవర్నమెంట్ వాళ్ళకి ఇచ్చిన ఆర్డర్స్ ఏవైతే ఉన్నాయో అవి అన్నీ ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అయిన తర్వాత ఇంకొన్ని ఆర్డర్స్ ఇద్దాం, ఎందుకంటే వాళ్ళ ఫ్యాక్టరీస్ అన్ని ఫుల్ అయిపోయాయని చెప్పి వాళ్ళు మొత్తం డెలివర్ చేసిన తర్వాత ఇవ్వాలని వెయిట్ చేస్తున్న పరిస్థితి అయితే వచ్చింది. సో గవర్నమెంట్ అలాంటి సిచ్యువేషన్కి అయితే వచ్చింది. కరెంట్లీ ఆల్ రైల్వే కంపెనీస్ ఏవైతే వాళ్ళు అందరూ ఆర్డర్స్ అయితే ఫిల్ అయిపోయి ఉన్నారు. వేగన్ కంపెనీస్ అవ్వచ్చు, ఆర్ ట్రాక్ రిలేటెడ్ కంపెనీస్ అవ్వచ్చు, ఆర్ ఎలక్ట్రిఫైయింగ్ రిలేటెడ్ కంపెనీస్ అవ్వచ్చు, ఇలాంటి కంపెనీస్ అన్నీ కూడా చాలా బాగా బెనిఫిట్ అయితే చెందున్నాయి. అండ్ ఇంకొకటి డిఫెన్స్ రిలేటెడ్గా డిస్కస్ చేస్తున్నప్పుడు ఆయన ఏమన్నారంటే డిఫెన్స్ రిలేటెడ్గా ఏదైతే ఆపర్చునిటీ ఉన్నదో ఇది మల్టీ డెకేడల్ ఆపర్చునిటీగా అయితే నాకు కనబడుతుంది. మన కంట్రీ చైనా ఇలాంటి కంట్రీస్ కంపేర్ చేసినట్టయితే సబ్మెరైన్స్ అవ్వచ్చు, డిస్ట్రాయర్స్ అవ్వచ్చు, ఇలా వేరే చోట్ల ల్యాగింగ్లో ఉన్నది. ఇంకా చాలా మన క్యాపబిలిటీస్ అయితే బిల్డ్ చేసుకోవాల్సి ఉన్నది. సో అందు గురించి గవర్నమెంట్ ఇక్కడ అంతా కూడా స్పెండ్ చేయనున్నది. సో ఈ స్పెండింగ్ వల్ల పీఈసీ కంపెనీస్ అండ్ అలాగే ప్రైవేట్ కంపెనీస్ ఇద్దరు బెనిఫిట్ చెందుతున్నారు. అండ్ అలాగే రైల్వే రిలేటెడ్ ఒక ఇంపార్టెంట్ పాయింట్ అయితే తెలుగు సమ్మరీలో మర్చిపోయాను. నేను యాక్చువల్లీ పీఈసీ కంపెనీస్ బెనిఫిట్ చెందినాయి, ప్రైవేట్ కంపెనీస్ బెనిఫిట్ చెందినాయి అని అడిగినప్పుడు రైల్వే రిలేటెడ్గా పీఈసీ కంపెనీస్ ఏవైతే వాళ్ళు ఈపీసీ రిలేటెడ్ ఆర్డర్స్తో మాత్రం బెనిఫిట్ చెందుతున్నారు. వేరే ప్రైవేట్ కంపెనీస్ విషయంకి వచ్చేసరికి వాళ్ళు ఈపీసీ రిలేటెడ్ ఆర్డర్స్ మాత్రమే కాకుండా మ్యానుఫ్యాక్చరింగ్ రిలేటెడ్గా కూడా వాళ్ళు బెనిఫిట్ చెందుతున్నారు. సో ప్రైవేట్ కంపెనీస్లోని ఆ వాస్ట్ గ్రోత్ అయితే కనబడినది అన్నారు. అండ్ కమింగ్ టు ఈ డిఫెన్స్ రిలేటెడ్గా మీరు ఎలా ప్లే చేస్తున్నారు, ఎటువంటి కంపెనీస్తో ప్లే చేస్తున్నారు అని అడిగినప్పుడు ఆయన డిఫెన్స్లోని భారత్ ఎలక్ట్రానిక్స్, భారత్ డైనమిక్స్, మిదాని అండ్ ఫ్యూ అదర్ ప్రైవేట్ కంపెనీస్ ద్వారా ప్లే చేస్తున్నట్టుగా అయితే చెప్పారు. నెక్స్ట్ వాటర్ రిలేటెడ్గా, పవర్ రిలేటెడ్గా ఇలాంటి వేరే థీమ్స్ రిలేటెడ్ డిస్కషన్ అయితే జరుగుతున్నది. అవి అయిపోయిన తర్వాత నేను మీకు తెలుగు సమ్మరీ అయితే ఇస్తాను. అండ్ వేర్ డూ యూ సీ ద నెక్స్ట్ ఆపర్చునిటీ? నౌ వి ఫినిష్డ్ రైల్వేస్, డిఫెన్స్, and then what next?
So next is water. Right?
Okay.
As a country, I mean, it is a bit sad that we are not able to still provide tap connections, running water connections to all the households yet. But it has been taken up at the top level, and they have made enough commitments, verbal commitments, and also financial allocation to ensure that we are able to provide this. So water will become a very important commodity. Okay, it always is, and it's now as well. But in terms of the capital expenditure that will happen in future, that is where water was lacking. And now incrementally we'll see a lot of Capex in water. Over the last 4-5 years, we have seen a pickup in water Capex. Water, when I say water, it's water supply, sewage treatment, as well as irrigation, right? All the three combined, we've seen a pickup. But where we need to be, we are still away from there. So we need to improve from where we are currently. This will entail enough Capex in terms of getting the pipelines, getting very large pumps. Okay, and then smaller pumps at the household level or at the village levels, and then to run these pumps you will have a lot of electrical connections required, and a lot of EPC work will have to be done to lay this vast network of pipelines.
True.
And at some stage we will have to connect the rivers. That is essential for India, because that will help in flood management as well.
Yes.
In case there is a surge in some region, we will be able to manage it. Instead of the inundation that will happen and destroy crops and homes, we will be able to manage it well.
Yes.
So somehow it got a political twist, and people were scared as to what will happen. Will you take water from my region and supply to your favorite region? But nothing of that sort is going to happen. It will actually be very beneficial to the country. So, but that will entail massive Capex. The sort of pumps, the sort of pipelines that you will require to do that will be massive. You will require a lot of electronics to control all this. Right, a lot of heavy electricals to control all this. So water, I think, is a next key area where we should see a lot of activity happening, and especially in the next 5 years.
When it comes to water, everywhere in media, the EPC players' names would pop up. Wabag, Iron Exchange, kind of. I don't see any of those names. How are you playing this theme?
I am playing through a company called Kirloskar Brothers.
Okay.
Kirloskar Brothers is one of the few manufacturers of very large pumps in India that are used by municipalities, hydropower plants and all. And these pumps, they also manufacture smaller pumps for usage at the local level, and even pumps usage at the industry level or at the residence level. So they have a whole range, starting from the very large pumps, which are also used in nuclear power plants, to very low pumps, very low capacity pumps that can be used in the residence.
Okay.
So,
okay.
And it has a meaningful stake in the fund.
Fantastic. Okay, railway done, defense done, water done.
Yeah.
Where next?
Government housing.
Okay.
Right. So housing is like the largest mother sector in a country, right? It drives significant downstream demand for a lot of host of sectors. You name it, like white goods, electricals, furnitures, tiling, plumbing, faucets, kitchenware, paints, a host of things. India has been short of houses perennially, right? We need to build more houses. And the government housing program, which mainly caters to the LIG and MIG segment, is very important in this regard. As these people graduate into living in apartments, very large apartments, and slowly as these families become affluent, they will move to private housing as well. So this is a very large space. One is the private housing where the builders and independent houses that we build by ourselves, and the second is government housing. So both these combined, I think, it will continue to see a lot of action. And the Real Estate Regulatory Act that happened in 2016-17 is a game changer for the sector. I think it's a massive reform which is underappreciated by people. People say GST and several other reforms, but even RERA is a massive thing. And today the kind of surge that we are seeing in sales by the private developers, I think a significant portion of that, the credit goes to the simplification that RERA has done.
Yes.
Today RERA has given an assurance that what you bid for, what you buy at the time of booking is what you will get.
Yes.
This is a massive thing because buying a house for an individual, the confidence is there. Exactly. So I think housing is the next big thing. I mean, it was always a big thing, but it is getting additional boost by the government housing as well. So the PM Awas Yojana has done wonders. They have been able to construct enough houses and supply, but the government is looking to enhance this number multifold. So if they are able to actually deliver these houses, then the kind of demand to the downstream sector will be enormous. 70% of the cement demand is led by real estate.
Yes.
Right? And bulk of the real estate is housing.
Yes.
A very large sector. So we can gauge the number, I mean the enormity of and the impact on the whole country. So if housing picks up in a meaningful way, government housing plus private housing, this will be a big driver for the economy. And it's been bad for many years, right? I mean, it's post-COVID we've seen a pickup, but pre-COVID it's been muted for many years.
Many government decisions, GST, whether it could be GST or RERA or demonetization, that actually impacted this sector.
The sales. And prior to that, there was a lack of confidence in the economy because of some issues.
Okay, how are you playing this theme?
We have cement in the portfolio. You have certain companies that are not pure consumption companies, but they supply some heavy electricals that are being used for the local substations and all, or switch gears that are required. So we are playing through some of these companies. We, as an infra fund, we are not playing it through. We also have some developers, but we are not trying to play it via the quasi-consumption of white goods and kitchenware and all that happens here. So we are trying to position the fund as a pure play infra fund. So within that, we don't have quasi-consumption, but the ones that fit properly into infrastructure, we are having those, some developers. We have some cement companies as well and some electrical companies. So that will capitalize on this opportunity.
Now, with that point, I have one more question.
Yeah,
See,
please.
many sectoral funds or any fund for that matter, the problem which I see is very few fund managers, they stick true to the label. Because of the levy SEBI gives, people use it. They put it in some other sector to get more return or to actually protect from the downside and all. But people who just want to play the entire pure play infra theme, then are you going to stick with only the infra, or you are also going to take that advantage of the 10-20% levy which SEBI is going true to the label one? Yeah,
so we have promised our investors that we are marketing this fund as an infrastructure fund. Infrastructure is broadly defined, but it doesn't include consumption. It doesn't include retail banking, doesn't include IT, doesn't include pharmaceuticals, doesn't include staples or discretionary consumption, right? Excluding this, we will have, if it fits the infrastructure definition, we will have it, but we will not dilute the essence of the fund. Because if the investor is looking for an infrastructure fund, we are giving him an infrastructure fund. It will have road, rail, airports, ports, water, electricity, energy, metals and mining. It will have semiconductors to some extent. It will have some healthcare infra, like hospitals. To build a 500 bed hospital, right, you will need thousands of crores, right? So you will, to build a 500 key hotel, you will need a substantial amount, thousands of crores. So if these kind of things we will have in infra. Other than this, we will not have stuff in infra. We will have a little bit of logistics and all, which is like the core infra thing. But we don't intend to have other stuff. We may have some financials. If bulk of the lending is to infrastructure, not only to real estate,
not the retail banking.
Not the retail banking. So I think some of my friends who manage infra funds do have them. I mean, that is a call that they've taken, but I would like to be true to the label. The essence of the fund, I would not like to dilute.
Now, another question, because see, this industry runs behind performance. Now, let's say, for example, infra as a theme has not performed for some time. That's
Yeah,
it.
yeah, for
It's
many-
a long-term play,
yes.
but for some periods it may not perform.
Absolutely.
If some fund manager has deviated and he invested somewhere else, okay, how are you going to handle that pressure? Because industry runs behind only performance.
Yeah.
So you will have a lot of pressure, peer comparison.
This is the most difficult thing to do,
Okay.
because at that point in time, if this scenario continues for some time, then the pressure will build up and that will be enormous to manage. But see, this is the strategy and this is the essence that you work with, right? I mean, at somewhere you draw the line and say, okay, this is what I am trying to do. So I hope that I will not be able, I should not deviate at that point in time, and I should still maintain the essence of the fund, that I will continue to focus on infra. And more so, what the scenario I foresee, right? The focus of the government on infrastructure seems to be there, right? Number one. Number two, they are allocating enough capital behind it, right? I'll give you a perspective. In 2014, the capital expenditure by the central government was 2.5 lakh crores. In 2021, it was 4.5 lakh crores. Single digit growth rate, CAGR. In 2025, this financial year, the Capex will be 11 lakh crores. Okay. And which can actually, I think, go higher in the upcoming budget. Okay. So if this is the kind of focus that the government is showing in and backing it with financial, at least in the medium term, I don't see a risk to deviate for anyone from the infrastructure theme. I think this theme should generate enough returns and maybe outperform as well. The stocks of late have run up, okay, but it's after, like you said, it's after many years of underperformance, right? And what has led to this? This has been led by two things. One, the government focus. Government had also made some mistakes. They have also learned and learnt well. They have resolved a lot of things, changed a lot of things. The companies which were also not managing very well have also learnt a lot of things. They have seen some of the promoters have lost their companies.
Yes.
Okay. And some of the promoters who have not lost have actually showed up capital in some way, put in more equity and repaid the banks, right? So in most cases, the government has assured that if you do work properly, then you will be, it will be a normal business scenario for you. But if you try and cheat the overall economy, then you may have to face dire consequences. And I mean, a lot of promoters have faced this issue. If you have a combination of country needs it, yes. The government is focused, yes. The government is allocating capital, yes. The companies are well placed to capitalize on that opportunity, yes. The valuations are expensive. We will have to manage that. That is the only challenge. Rest of that, all the other boxes you can tick.
Fantastic.
So to that extent, I think we should be able to keep focusing on infrastructure, because it should generate enough returns and maybe outperform as well.
Okay. Vishal, the conversation is going so fantastic that even I forgot to give disclosure. Let me do that. Guys, see, whatever discussed in this video, it is only for the knowledge purpose. And second thing, we don't have any commercial relation with them. See, this sector, I have interest and I have good connect. So I want to know whether this opportunity still there or not. And even viewers also has a lot of interest in this sector. For you also to get that confidence, what the data which the real experts who are working in this industry is saying. So I want to bring the data. For that is the reason we did this interview.
Sure, please.
And I'll come to the next question. You are not speaking about power till now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have to.
Okay.
It's a very large opportunity. It's a meaningful opportunity, and we are playing it very well.
Okay.
Electricity is a subject that is very dear to me. I started my career with electricity, tracking electricity in India as an analyst, and India has very bad history with electricity per se.
Yeah.
Somehow we either have too less of it or too much of it, but we never have enough. We initially started, we actually amended the Electricity Act in 2003, and that is what led the way for a massive surge in Capex that happened, and unfortunately a build-up in NPAs. But we needed that electricity, and we now need more than ever. But what happened in the middle was, as we opened up the sector, there was a gold rush, right? That happens in many sectors. A lot of promoters realized that there is massive amount of money to be made, and they were not wrong. But the way they approached and the way the government handled it, I think was the not prudent way.
True.
This was not because of malified intentions, but because of inexperience at both ends, right? This was the scenario. But as we gradually learned as to what is the best way to generate electricity, transmit electricity, and distribute electricity, we have seen massive improvements, right? So in generation capacity, we've seen a surge. We need much more of it. In between, we were very conservative in adding coal-based capacity, which is very essential for base load, right?
Yes.
But we have realized our mistakes. We are now ordering coal-based capacities that will come about. We added lot of renewables, but we should have had lot of manufacturing of renewables as well. In the meanwhile, in the transitional phase, wind went through a painful cycle
Yes.
of change in policies, and consequently, the developers and the manufacturers of wind turbines had a tough time. Solar, we have been able to add continuously, but in solar what has happened is we do not manufacture enough cells and modules, so that was thing that was causing delay. The government wanted to ensure that the benefit of this capacity addition accrues to the Indian industry,
Yes.
but we did not have enough capacity to manufacture cells and modules. So government was also waiting as to once these modules come out, then they'll levy some duties on the Chinese material or the material that was coming from abroad, from other countries, and then it should be a very smooth sailing, because then we'll have the domestic companies supplying this material to solar modules to the developers. So we have, like Infra, we have learned a lot of things along the way, and we have come to a stage that we are developing our own wind turbines, and we are installing many of them now. We are installing a lot of solar power now, thankfully. And we are also installing a lot of coal-based plants. So one thing is very crucial for the country, and I think the minister has clarified this some time back, which we believed all throughout. Energy security is more important than energy transition. Right? Energy transition is important. We have to get there. There is no denying. We are not saying that we should miss the targets that we've set for ourselves. But during that transition, it should not lead to a scenario of challenge on energy security, that we are not able to give enough electricity. And today, at a time when we have all of us connected all the time, right? Today we are addicted to WhatsApp or various applications, right? It's very difficult of not having electricity. Today, kids have also learned to use technology in their studies. Right?
Yes.
It will get difficult for them also at some point in time if we don't supply enough electricity. And today the challenge that India will face in a few years is that if you look at the load curve of India, there is a peak in demand between 7 to 9 in the morning and 7 to 11 in the evening, right? And it is during this time that you definitely have to supply electricity.
Yes.
In the other hours, even if there is a cut, people may tolerate it, may not want to, but they have to. But during the peak hours, they may be slightly irritated because of the power cuts. And between 7 to 9 and 7 to 11, to supply this peak demand, we may not have enough capacity. Is the risk that we are running as a country.
Currently.
And if we have to ensure that this doesn't pan out, if we have to supply enough electricity, we will need to add enough capacity for the peak load demand. And those capacities will be gas or hydro or storage. So as of now, we have gas-based capacities, but we don't have enough gas. And the volatility in gas prices is also a matter of concern. Hydro, we can't add on immediate basis. We are adding a lot of hydro, but it will take time to come. We are adding some pump storage projects. Pump storage projects will come, but again with a lag of 3-4 years, 5 years. And batteries can come, but batteries we don't manufacture in India. We don't manufacture battery chemicals enough in India. We don't have enough manufacturing of cells as yet, and we don't have manufacturing of battery packs or the overall battery-based systems in India as yet. But we are developing these in a very fast pace. The government has come up with a PLI for advanced cell chemistry, and we will be having enough manufacturing of cells in India. Okay, so what will happen is in a few years, to cater to the peak demand, we will have battery-based systems as well, and we will have pump storage systems as well. And the distribution companies are also gearing up to address this demand, and they are coming up with tenders for battery-based systems and pump storage systems. So we are trying to do it. We will get there, but in the meanwhile, there might be a risk that we might face some electricity shortages during the peak hours. And there is one important change that has happened over the last, I think, 4-5 years. There has been an improvement in the functioning of the electricity distribution companies, DISCOMs as we call them. So we, as India, we used to suffer from very high losses on the electricity distribution side. Those losses have reduced a bit. There is we need to reduce much more, That will also entail some capex, but we have to reduce that. So that is a last part of the electricity puzzle that we need to fix, and which is the most difficult part, because that is a last mile connectivity that we need to ensure that the level of losses there come down.
Okay.
So electricity will offer massive opportunity like the other sectors we discussed, and we are playing it in the fund in a meaningful way. We have electricity generators like utilities like NTPC, Torrent Power, GSW Energy. We have electricity equipment supplying companies, like Siemens, like Hitachi Energy. These companies are also focused on transmission. We also have Power Grid. So we also have some financing companies, who finance some of the renewable energy projects. So a host of companies are there. There are some smaller names as well who capitalize on this overall electricity value chain opportunity. So electricity is again like a mother sector, has got several downstream benefits to various sectors, and a lot of these are captured in the fund. And thankfully, we were early in the trade, so we have benefited from the narrative that has built up over the years.
Okay. Last few questions, Vishal.
Please,
One,
please.
yes, government is increasing their capex.
Yeah.
But what's the future? Is it going to grow like this? And till what level you are seeing this capital expenditure going to be increased by government?
Right. So a very important point, because this will give a medium-term perspective as to where the sector heading to, right?
Yes.
And we need to have the right direction as to where the sector heading. So what will happen is, you have grown from 4.5 lakh crores to 11 lakh crores of capex from 2021 to 25, in a short span of time.
Yes.
Now, let us be a little conservative as to there might be hiccups on the way, some bumps on the way. Even if this increases by 13-14%, in future, this will we will come to 20 lakh crores in 5-6 years. So we've taken 76 years to reach 11 lakh crores. In the next 5-6 years, we will reach 20 lakh crores.
Wow.
So this is a big delta, right?
Yes.
So incremental 9-10 lakh crores that we will have, it will be available to the almost the same set of companies, right? And some more additions, obviously, as companies graduate.
Yes.
But this incremental opportunity that is there will be a big thing, right?
Yes.
And these are conservative numbers. The focus of the government that is there, if they've increased from 4.5 to 11 in 5 years, they might be looking at much higher number. But I'm saying even if it happens at 13-14%, now what is the relevance of 13-14%, right? The Indian GDP growth rate is about, real GDP growth rate is between 7 to 8%, right? Consider 7.5%. And the inflation is between 4 to 5, right? That is the ideal inflation for India.
Yes.
We can't go too low as well. So if you assume 4.5, then 12% is the nominal GDP growth.
Yes.
Even if you look at the budget documents or private economists who estimate, they work with 12-13% of nominal GDP growth. So we're saying even if the government spends just marginally higher than the nominal GDP growth on Capex, right, you will see a massive difference in the overall space. And mind you, we are, as a country, we are trailing in infrastructure compared to our peers.
Yes.
As a country, right? We need to invest much more than this. But even if we do this much, you are doubling the opportunity in the next 5-6 years.
So companies are going to become big.
So I hope so. Yeah. Yes. You will have some new participants, but the existing companies will see a significant increase in order book.
And see, this infra as a theme, the biggest risk, opportunity is also from the government, but risk is also from the government.
Yeah.
See, government policy consistency will ensure this theme will play for a longer period. But see, the concern part is, see, from 2004 to 2008, government has brought lot of policies.
Yeah.
After that, they have messed it up.
Yeah.
Okay, companies have bursted, investors lost money.
Yes.
Again, now we are seeing this rally.
Right.
Okay, what is the difference between, if I have to ask you, that cycle and this cycle? What exactly happening now? How can we take this as sustainable? The government policies can be sustainable and we can relay and invest with confidence.
Sure. This is again a great question. See, at that point in time, when we opened up the infrastructure space, right, between 2002, 2003, we did a lot of amendments to the infrastructure acts, right, specific Electricity Act, roads, lot of things. Then between 4 to 2008, when we awarded a lot of these projects and even afterwards, the government this was the first time that the government was getting private participation in infrastructure as a developer, right? This public-private partnership had its own challenges. We tried to learn, when we made the policies, we tried to learn from the issues that were encountered outside of India. But still, there were some peculiar issues to India, which were maybe not at best imagined at that point in time, so not factored in. But gradually, as we started awarding the projects and as we encountered these issues, right, the government was not sitting with hands tied, right? The government at every stage, when the private developers used to go for arbitration or go for amendments to the contracts and everything, at every stage the government was incorporating the changes. They were learning from these things, right, as to what all needs to change, so that in future when we award the contracts, be it for any aspect of water of infrastructure, we should not face this problem, right? When we were awarding BOT projects in roads, the private guys were told to acquire land, which was getting very difficult for them. The government said, boss, no more, I will acquire land. The rate at which land was acquired, that policy was changed. We were giving less than the circle rates or just the circle rates. Government people not interested. Then we said we'll give 2 to 4 times the circle rate. So people wanted to give land. Okay. Similarly, the hybrid annuity model in roads, right, or which is used now in water as well and several other sectors, right. The BOT had its disadvantages. The government said that let us come up with a different model. Let us do roads, hybrid annuity model, which was very successful. So the government on the process had learned several things. Similarly in electricity, right, the government has learned as to what is the ideal way to award power plants, what is not the ideal way to award power plants, right. So nobody wants issues in future, right? So they want a smooth sailing, the private sector as well as the public sector.
Yes.
So the government has learned enormous lessons on the way, and they have incorporated these changes in the new orders that came about. Hence, we have seen a sharp decline in arbitration. Earlier, NHAI, if you see, the National Highway Authority of India, or MORTH, which is the Ministry of Roads and Highways, there used to be a saying there that every project that you award comes up with several more arbitrations, right? Today, every project that you award is lessening the arbitration, because there is no incremental arbitration coming in. So there are a lot of changes similarly for power as well, or water. So these are the changes that the government has learned from. And there were a lot of learnings for the private sector as well. They used to, if for an example, a company could take 4 projects, they took 10 projects and then messed up on the cash flows, because you will have to put some equity as well, but wo to hai nahi. So there is some problem. Then you borrowed, and because you've tried to chew more than you can handle, you were not able to repay banks as well. Then some promoters who could take 4 projects took only 4 projects. They were ideal there, but they used that money to buy real estate and develop some buildings. They wanted to become a developer. Then messed up when there was when the real estate cycle melted. So these things the developers also learned. The private companies also learned. They said, we will be very cautious. So today they've come to a stage, if you see a lot of contractors have less than ideal debt. Right.
Yes.
L&T, if you see it, 4.5 lakh crores, has got no debt in the EPC business. Right. And there are many contractors who've learned. And some of the contractors who did not learn have lost the business.
Yes.
Right. So there were enough learnings from the company also. What is this leading to? This is leading to higher productivity, which means that you have faster execution of projects. Right. Today you don't have that kind of delays in project execution. There will be exceptions here and there. See, we are talking about the general trends, right? There will be exceptions always. But in the general trend, we are not seeing enough delays. There is a hydropower plant that has taken 15 years to come up, and which is still not come up. But we are hopeful that by the end of this year, it should come up. But the new hydro projects that started 4-5 years ago will come up in 5-6 years of construction, which is a decent construction. For building a last 1000 megawatt plant in the Himalayas, that is an idle period of construction. And if that power plant comes in there, you will get electricity at 3 rupees at the starting rate, and which will eventually come down to less than 2 rupees, less than 1.5 rupees. So there have been enough learnings on both the sides of the aisle, and we think that this cycle, we should not see a lot of issues in the infrastructure coming in. So because if the government is able to manage it well and the private companies are able to do it well, then I think this Capex cycle should lead to enough value creation for the shareholders at the promoter level and at the minority shareholder level.
Superb. Fantastic interview, Vishal. I'm sure most of my viewers will love it, and actually after a long time, I thoroughly enjoyed ఈచ్ మూమెంట్ ఆఫ్ ద కాన్వర్సేషన్.
Thank you very much, and thank you to the viewers as well.
రైల్వేస్ డిఫెన్స్ అయిపోయిన తర్వాత వాటర్ థీమ్ గురించి ఆయన మాట్లాడుతూ ఏమన్నారంటే, వాటర్ రిలేటెడ్గా గవర్నమెంట్ ఒక వెర్బల్ కమిట్మెంట్స్ మాత్రమే కాకుండా ఫైనాన్షియల్ ఎలొకేషన్స్ కూడా జరుగుతున్నట్టుగా చెప్పారు. అండ్ ఈ వాటర్ రిలేటెడ్గా ఏదైతే స్పెండింగ్ ఉన్నదో చాలా మ్యాసివ్గా చేయాల్సి ఉన్నది. లాస్ట్ 4-5 ఇయర్స్లోని ఆల్రెడీ గవర్నమెంట్ స్పెండ్ చేస్తుంది. మనం ఒక సర్టెన్ స్టేజ్ నుంచి ఒక బెటర్ స్టేజ్కి అయితే వచ్చాం. కాకపోతే యాక్చువల్లీ మనం ఉండాల్సిన స్టేజ్ ఏదైతే ఉన్నదో అది ఇంకా చాలా దూరం ఉన్నది. సో దీని రిలేటెడ్గా స్పెండింగ్ అయితే ఈపీసీ ప్లేయర్స్ అవ్వచ్చు, పైప్ లైన్ కంపెనీస్ అవ్వచ్చు, లార్జ్ పంప్స్, స్మాల్ పంప్స్ తయారు చేసే కంపెనీస్ అవ్వచ్చు, వీళ్ళందరూ బెనిఫిట్ చెందుతారు. అండ్ వాటర్ రిలేటెడ్ స్పెండింగ్ అనగానే వాటర్ సప్లైస్ మాత్రమే కాదు, సీవేజ్ ట్రీట్మెంట్ అండ్ అలాగే ఇరిగేషన్ రిలేటెడ్గా కూడా గవర్నమెంట్ అయితే స్పెండ్ చేయనున్నది. అండ్ ఇంకొక బిగ్ థింగ్ ఆయన ఏం ఎక్స్పెక్ట్ చేస్తున్నారంటే, మన దేశంలో ఏదో ఒక సర్టెన్ పాయింట్ ఆఫ్ టైంలో రివర్స్ని అయితే కనెక్ట్ చేయాల్సి ఉన్నది. ఎందుకంటే కొన్ని చోట్ల ఫ్లడ్స్ పడినప్పుడు అక్కడ ఏంటంటే పొలాలు డిస్ట్రాయ్ అయిపోతాయి, ఊర్లు డిస్ట్రాయ్ అయిపోతాయి, ఇవన్నీ జరుగుతాయి. అదే మనం రివర్స్ని కనెక్ట్ చేయగలిగినట్టయితే ఆ వాటర్ వేస్ట్ అవ్వకుండా వాటర్ని వేరే దగ్గరికి అయితే మూవ్ చేయొచ్చు, ఎక్కడైతే డ్రౌట్ ఉన్నదో ఇవన్నీ జరగచ్చు. సో దీని రిలేటెడ్ గవర్నమెంట్ అయితే ఆలోచిస్తుంది. కాకపోతే పొలిటికల్ ఇష్యూస్ ఏవైతే దానివల్ల చేయలేకపోతున్నారు. బట్ సమ్వేర్ ఈ డెసిషన్ అయితే తీసుకోవాల్సి ఉంటుంది గవర్నమెంట్ అయితే వాటర్ రిలేటెడ్గా. ఎప్పుడైతే ఈ డెసిషన్ తీసుకుంటారో దెన్ ఈ వాటర్ థీమ్ రిలేటెడ్ వర్క్ చేసే కంపెనీస్ అన్నిటికి కూడా చాలా మ్యాసివ్ ఆపర్చునిటీ అయితే క్రియేట్ అవుతుంది. అండ్ ఒక కమిటీ వాటర్ రిలేటెడ్గా నేను అడిగిన దాని క్వశ్చన్ ఏంటంటే, వాటర్ స్టాక్స్ అనగానే మనకి ఈపీసీ ప్లేయర్స్ రిలేటెడ్గా డిస్కషన్ నడుస్తుంది కదా, వాబా కావచ్చు, ఇలాంటి కంపెనీస్ అవ్వచ్చు, మీ పోర్ట్ఫోలియో అలాంటి కంపెనీస్ ఏమి నాకు కనబడలేదు. సో వాటర్ థీమ్తో మీరు ఎలా ప్లే చేస్తున్నారు అన్నప్పుడు ఆయన టాప్ 5 స్టాక్స్లోని కిర్లోస్కర్ బ్రదర్స్ అయితే ఉన్నది. ఆయన ఏమన్నారంటే, ఈ కిర్లోస్కర్ బ్రదర్స్ ఏదైతే ఉన్నదో వాళ్ళు లార్జ్ పంప్స్, స్మాల్ పంప్స్ ఇవన్నీ కూడా మ్యానుఫ్యాక్చర్ చేస్తుంటారన్నమాట. సో వీళ్ళకి చాలా మంచి ఆపర్చునిటీ కనబడుతుందని చెప్పి పోర్ట్ఫోలియోలో సిగ్నిఫికెంట్ ఎలోకేషన్ అయితే ఈ కంపెనీకి ఇచ్చినట్టుగా ఆయన మాట్లాడారు. నెక్స్ట్ హౌసింగ్ రిలేటెడ్గా ఆయన చాలా మ్యాసివ్ ఆపర్చునిటీ చూస్తున్నట్టుగా చెప్తున్నారు. ఎస్పెషల్లీ రెరా వచ్చిన తర్వాత థింగ్స్ హ్యావ్ చేంజ్ కంప్లీట్లీ కదా. అండ్ హౌసింగ్ అనగానే గవర్నమెంట్ కట్టే ఇల్లులు ఏవైతే అవి మాత్రం కాకుండా మనం ఇండివిజువల్లీ కొంటుంటాం కదా బిల్డర్స్ దగ్గర నుంచి. ఓవరాల్గా ప్రతి చోట ఆపర్చునిటీ అయితే ఉన్నది. కాకపోతే మేము బిల్డర్స్ ద్వారా ప్లే చేయాలని అయితే అనుకోవట్లేదు ఈ హౌసింగ్ థీమ్ని. సో మేము యాన్సిలరీ కంపెనీస్ ఏవైతే ఉంటాయి, ఎస్పెషల్లీ సిమెంట్ గురించి అయితే మల్టిపుల్ టైమ్స్ మాట్లాడారన్నమాట. నేను సిమెంట్ కంపెనీస్ని అయితే ఎలోకేట్ చేశాను పోర్ట్ఫోలియోలో. నేను సిమెంట్ మాత్రమే కాకుండా మనకి టైల్స్ ఇలాంటి కంపెనీస్ చాలానే ఉంటాయి కదా, పైప్స్, పెయింట్స్ ఇలాంటి కంపెనీస్, వాటి ద్వారా కూడా ఈ హౌసింగ్ థీమ్ని అయితే ప్లే చేస్తున్నాను. కమింగ్ టు పవర్ విషయంకి వచ్చేసరికి మాత్రం నేను స్టార్ట్ చేసింది ఎలక్ట్రిసిటీ, ఇండియా ఎలక్ట్రిసిటీ డిమాండ్ని ట్రాక్ చేస్తూ స్టార్ట్ చేశాను. కరెంట్లీ చూసినట్టయితే మనం సమ్వేర్ ఎలక్ట్రిసిటీ రిలేటెడ్గా షార్టేజ్ అయితే చూసాం. పీక్ అవర్స్ ఏవైతే ఉన్నాయి, మార్నింగ్ అవర్స్ కానీ ఈవినింగ్ అవర్స్ కానీ ఏదైతే పీక్ అవర్స్ ఉన్నాయో ఆ టైంలో షార్టేజెస్ అయితే చూసే ఆస్కారం ఎక్కువగా ఉన్నాయి. సో ఎందుకంటే కోల్ బేస్డ్ హైడ్రో పవర్ మనం చాలాసార్లు మాట్లాడుకున్నాం, 1.5 yearగా మన ఛానల్లో మాట్లాడుతున్నాం. కోల్ రిలేటెడ్గా మనం ఏదైతే క్యాపెక్స్ యాడ్ చేయలేదు, థర్మల్ క్యాపెక్స్ యాడ్ చేయకపోవడం వల్ల ఈ షార్టేజెస్ అయితే చూస్తామని చెప్పి గవర్నమెంట్ కూడా ఇది రియలైజ్ అయింది. అండ్ అలాగే థర్మల్ రిలేటెడ్గా ఏదైతే ఎలక్ట్రిసిటీ జనరేషన్ ఉంటుందో దాని రిలేటెడ్ క్యాపెక్స్ యాడ్ చేయాలని అయితే ప్రయత్నిస్తున్నారు. రెన్యూబుల్ రిలేటెడ్గా కూడా చాలా క్యాపెక్స్ అయితే యాడ్ చేశారు. ఎస్పెషల్లీ విండ్ ఎనర్జీ రిలేటెడ్గా చాలా మ్యాసివ్ డెవలప్మెంట్స్ అయితే జరుగుతున్నట్టుగా ఆయన మాట్లాడారు. విండ్ టర్బైన్స్ ఇవన్నీ మన ఓన్గా అయితే మ్యానుఫ్యాక్చర్ చేస్తున్నాం. కమింగ్ టు ఈ పవర్ రిలేటెడ్ థీమ్ని ఆయన ప్లే చేసిన స్టాక్స్ విషయంకి వచ్చేసరికి సిమెన్స్, హిటాచి, పవర్ గ్రిడ్, ఎన్టీపీసీ, టోరెంట్ పవర్, జేఎస్డబ్ల్యూ ఎనర్జీ ఇలాంటి కంపెనీస్ ద్వారా ప్లే చేస్తున్నట్టుగా అయితే చెప్పారు. నో లాస్ట్ మోస్ట్ ఇంపార్టెంట్ థింగ్ ఏం అడిగానంటే, లాస్ట్ టైము ఇలాగే 2003-08 టైంలోనే జరిగింది. దాని తర్వాత ఇప్పుడు కూడా ఇన్ఫ్రాలో చాలా మంచి పాజిటివ్ బజ్ అయితే కనబడుతుంది. దీన్ని ఇంకా అంటే సస్టైన్ అవుతుంది ఎంతవరకు నమ్మొచ్చు అని అడిగినప్పుడు ఆయన ఏమన్నారంటే, 11 లక్షల కోట్లు 76 సంవత్సరాల్లోనే మనం ఈ ఇన్ఫ్రా రిలేటెడ్ స్పెండింగ్ 11 లక్షల కోట్లకి అయితే రీచ్ అయ్యాము. నెక్స్ట్ 5 to 6 yearsలో 20 లక్షల కోట్లు అయితే ఇన్ఫ్రా రిలేటెడ్గా స్పెండ్ చేయబోతున్నాం. అంటే 9 lakh crores ఎడిషనల్ స్పెండింగ్ జరుగుతున్నది. ఈ 9 lakh crores స్పెండింగ్ కూడా ఏవైతే ఎగ్జిస్టింగ్ కంపెనీస్ ఉన్నాయో వాళ్ళకే మేజర్గా ఆర్డర్స్ అయితే వెళ్ళున్నాయి. సో ఆల్రెడీ స్టాక్స్ పెరిగినా కూడా ఈ ఎగ్జిస్టింగ్ కంపెనీస్కి ఆర్డర్స్ అయితే వెళ్ళున్నాయి. కాబట్టి ఈ కంపెనీస్ ఇంకా మ్యాసివ్ బెనిఫిట్ అయితే చూడున్నాయి. అండ్ లాస్ట్ టైం ఏదైతే ఇష్యూస్ జరిగాయో దాంతో కంపెనీస్ కూడా చాలా వరకు వాళ్ళు చేసిన తప్పులు నేర్చుకున్నాయి. అంటే వాళ్ళు ఎంతవరకు బిడ్ చేయగలరో అంతవరకు బిడ్ చేయడం, ఎక్కువ మ్యాసివ్గా బిడ్స్ వేసేసి దాని తర్వాత వాళ్ళ దగ్గర క్యాపిటల్ లేక డెట్ ట్రాప్లో పడిపోయి కంపెనీలు ఎత్తేసే సిచ్యువేషన్ ఏవైతే వచ్చాయో అలాంటి సిచ్యువేషన్స్కి వెళ్ళకుండా కంపెనీస్ అన్ని కూడా సెన్సిబుల్ బిడ్డింగ్ అయితే చేస్తున్నాయి. ఏవైతే ప్రాఫిటబుల్ బిడ్డింగ్ ఉంటుందో అవి మాత్రమే చూస్తున్నాయి. ఈవెన్ గవర్నమెంట్ కూడా ఈ 10-20 సంవత్సరాల్లోనే చాలా వరకు నేర్చుకున్నది దీని రిలేటెడ్గా. యాక్చువల్లీ బేసికలీ ఆ టైంలో ఏదైతే ఇష్యూస్ జరిగాయో అది ఇంటెన్షన్ వాజ్ నాట్ రాంగ్. ఇన్ఎక్స్పీరియన్స్ ఏదైతే ఉన్నదో దానివల్ల కంపెనీస్ కానీ గవర్నమెంట్ కానీ ఆ తప్పులు అయితే చేసే ఈ లాస్ట్ 20 yearsలోని గవర్నమెంట్ అండ్ అలాగే కంపెనీస్ కూడా నేర్చుకున్నాయి. కాబట్టి ఈసారి అలాంటి ఇష్యూస్ అయితే క్లియర్లీ కనబడట్లేదు. అండ్ అలాగే ఇన్ఫ్రా రిలేటెడ్ ర్యాలీ ఏదైతే ఉన్నదో అట్లీస్ట్ నెక్స్ట్ 5-6 yearsలో అయితే నాకు ఎటువంటి ప్రాబ్లం కూడా కనబడట్లేదు. అండ్ ఇంకొకటి ఆయన అడిగాను ఏంటంటే ట్రూ టు ద లేబుల్. చాలా ఫండ్స్ వాళ్ళు ఈ సెక్టర్లో ఇన్వెస్ట్ చేస్తాం అది ఇది అని చెప్తారు, కానీ దాని తర్వాత వేరే సెక్టర్స్లో ఇన్వెస్ట్ చేసేస్తుంటారు, ఎలొకేషన్ తీసుకుంటారు. నేను ఓన్లీ ఇన్ఫ్రా రిలేటెడ్ ఫండ్లో ఇన్వెస్ట్ చేయాలని అనుకున్నప్పుడు ఆర్ యూ గోయింగ్ టు స్టిక్ టు ద ట్రూ టు ద లేబుల్ అన్నప్పుడు ఎస్ అందులో అసలు డౌటే లేదు. ఎలాంటి ప్రెషర్స్ వచ్చినా కూడా నేను ట్రూ టు ద లేబుల్ స్టిక్ ఆన్ అవుదని అనుకున్నాను. అండ్ అలా ప్రెషర్ అంటే పర్ఫార్మెన్స్ రిలేటెడ్ ప్రెషర్స్ వచ్చినప్పుడు అప్పుడైనా కూడా మీరు మారిపోతారు అన్నప్పుడు నేను మారకూడదని అనుకున్నాను. సో ఈవెన్ మా ఫండ్ హౌస్ యొక్క ఫిలాసఫీ కూడా అదే, ట్రూ టు ద లేబులే స్టిక్ ఆన్ అవుదాం. అండ్ ఇంకోటి ఏంటంటే నేను మారాల్సిన అవసరం కూడా లేదు, ఎందుకంటే నెక్స్ట్ 5-10 yearsలో చాలా మంచి గ్రోత్ అయితే ఇన్ఫ్రా రిలేటెడ్గా చూస్తున్నట్టుగా చెప్పారు. సో ఓవరాల్గా ఇన్ఫ్రా యాజ్ ఎ సెక్టర్ లాస్ట్ కపుల్ ఆఫ్ ఇయర్స్గా చాలా మంచి రిటర్న్ అయితే ఇన్వెస్టర్స్కి ఇచ్చింది. సో నెక్స్ట్ 5-6 yearsలోని ఈ రిటర్న్ సస్టైన్ అవుతుందా లేదా అన్న డౌట్స్ అయితే నాకు ఉన్నాయి. సో చాలామంది వ్యూవర్స్ కూడా ఆ డౌట్స్ ఉంటాయి. సో హోప్ ఈ ఇంటర్వ్యూ ద్వారా మీకు ఆ డౌట్స్ అయితే క్లారిఫై అయ్యాయని అనుకున్నాను. అండ్ అలాగే ఇన్ఫ్రా రిలేటెడ్గా ఎక్కడెక్కడ ఆపర్చునిటీ ఉన్నది, ఎంత ఆపర్చునిటీ ఉన్నది అనేది కూడా మీకు ఒక క్లారిటీ వచ్చిందని అనుకున్నాను. వీడియో రిలేటెడ్గా మీకు ఏదైతే కంటెంట్ షేర్ చేసామో అది నచ్చి ఇప్పటివరకు వీడియోని లైక్ చేయడం ఎవరైనా మర్చిపోయినట్టయితే వీడియోని లైక్ చేస్తే మీ ఫ్రెండ్స్ అండ్ ఫ్యామిలీ మెంబర్స్కి తప్పకుండా వీడియోని షేర్ చేయడం అయితే మర్చిపోకండి గైస్. ఓన్లీ ఈ 2 విషయాలు మేము అడుగుతుంటాం అన్నమాట. సో ఈ 2 తప్పకుండా చేస్తారని అనుకుంటున్నాను. సో దిస్ ఈజ్ ఆల్ అబౌట్ దిస్ వీడియో. నేను సాయి కృష్ణ పత్రి మరొక మంచి వీడియోతో మీ ముందుకు వస్తాను. టిల్ దెన్ బై బై, టేక్ కేర్.